Thank you to all three of you for bringing this project to life. Sada, we'll start with you since you're at the helm. This film takes place in 2021 and premiered at Cannes last year, but only feels more relevant now. How did you approach documenting such a specific topic that's continuing to unfold in real time?
Yes, the film had a release on Cannes 2023, I believe. And I have to say that if I want to make this film right now, it's impossible because since that time to now, the Taliban increased more edicts against Afghan women, right? Even they are not allowed to sing behind the door for another woman. So that time difficult. The situation was difficult, but every day it's become more difficult. And I think we didn't hear Afghan women as much as we have to since last 3 years and a half, and that's why the situation getting more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And having Malala and Jennifer on board, I mean, this is the collab we've all been waiting for. Had you two gotten a chance to meet before? Were you fans of each other's work going into this?
Yes.
I had read Malala's book and was a huge fan of her advocacy work before and was thrilled to be able to work with her.
Yeah, and I'm so honored that we are collaborating on this project together. I could have never imagined this, but it's just a reminder for us that when it comes to women's rights, we have this common shared value that we have to stand up for each other, no matter where this oppression against women is happening. And in this time, it's the Afghan women and girls who need our voice, our support, and our platforms. And that's why I became part of this documentary, Bread and Roses, to bring attention to the systematic oppression that the Taliban are imposing on Afghan women and girls, which includes a ban on education, limitation from work and public life as well. And I am supporting all the Afghan women activists who are leading a campaign to hold the Taliban accountable. Especially, they are calling for the codification of gender apartheid in the Crime Against Humanity Treaty. So I hope that this documentary can help us raise awareness and it can help us bring visibility for Afghan women and girls because the Taliban are making them invisible. They are erasing them from public life. So this documentary is a form of resistance for Afghan women right now.
Yeah, it's so important. Malala, you've obviously been an incredible example of not only survival, but perseverance and triumph in the face of violent oppression like this. How did your personal experience and activism make working on this film that much more meaningful to you? And what of yourself did you see in these three women at the core of the story?
The only thing that I wish for is that no girl should ever witness a time when her education is banned and her rights are taken away. And my only hope through this documentary right now is that we stand with Afghan women and hold the Taliban accountable for their crimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jennifer, you've been a longtime advocate for women's rights, including during this time of political tension here in the US. How has this project broadened your perspective and dedication to these issues going forward, especially now in the wake of our election?
Well, it's just devastating to see what happens, and it's very scary to be a woman and to watch our rights be stripped. And when you look at what's happening in Afghanistan, which is just an unacceptable crime of humanity, it's an example of what happens when we stop having empathy for each other, when we stop listening to each other, which I think is my biggest fear for America right now, is that we just half of the country, we just hate each other. And it's just not, it's just not going to go anywhere good or positive. And I really hope that in America we can find a way to listen to each other, um, because this is a very stark and terrifying example of what happens when we start having apathy for somebody's experience because they don't look like us, or because they're far away, or because their life experience doesn't mirror our own.
No, absolutely. And on a lighter note, fans love seeing you both thriving, not just professionally, but personally. Jennifer, congrats on growing your family. Can you touch upon how navigating new motherhood impacted your experience working on this and seeing these women's fight and reflecting on that now as you prepare for another little one?
In 2021, when I saw the fall of Kabul and was watching what was happening, to women in Afghanistan, I was just devastated as a human, and as a filmmaker, that was really my only weapon that I knew how to do what the Taliban did not want us to do, which was show what was going on to Afghan women. And of course, it's a huge it's just a responsibility of anybody that I feel like has an opportunity to be in the spotlight, or who people are listening to just shine light where where the focus actually really needs to be to benefit our future, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And how are you feeling, by the way?
Good, thank you.
Good. And Malala, you've been a global voice for girls' education, as you mentioned, most of your life at this point, and you've grown such a huge platform on social media. What do you hope other young people following you can learn from the women in this film?
I hope that young people stand with Afghan women and girls in this time because they need our solidarity and our support. And at the same time, I want them to share the story of Bread and Roses with as many people as they can, and think about how they can play a role in supporting the Afghan women led charities that are providing alternative education or that are leading campaign to bring attention to what's happening in the country. So the more support we can give, we'll be playing a very important role.
Yes. And before we go, Sada, can you explain or at least preview for the audience the significance behind the title, Bread and Roses?
Um, I just want to start with that right now there is a huge gap between our sisterhood, between Afghan women and the rest of the women, and we have to try to make this gap smaller. So of course, women are fighting for still for basic rights in everywhere in US and in Afghanistan. So, but we shouldn't keep fighting for let's open a school for the girls. It's shameful, I think, in this century. But Bread and Roses has a historical historian behind. So this is a poem by this name, and also it's um, um, political slogan that used before in the American history. But also it was for me particular for this name to choose for the film was it's come from what Afghan women asking in the street of Kabul. They asking for job, bread, a job, freedom, education, and bread and roses significant to what they want.
Well, thank you so much for that. And we so appreciate your time.